Hello, everybody. Welcome to PowerShell Wednesday. Every single Wednesday, 2 p.m. Right now, if you're here live, we do PowerShell Wednesday, where we talk about PowerShell, learn, have some fun. And returning guest coming today to teach us all about Regex is none other than Stephen Judd, Microsoft MVP, Regex lover. I mean, seriously, what I wanted to, whenever I promoted this on socials, I wanted to say, Stephen Judd is very passionate about Regex. And if you talk to him for more than 5 minutes, it will probably come up in some capacity, one way or another.
Yeah, there's some tropes that you kind of lock into on yourself apparently over time. It's my love of puns, love of dad jokes, love of PowerShell, and apparently Regex is in the mix. But I just find it so incredibly useful once you get past the I don't understand any of this to wait, this is starting to make sense. Wait, it can do this. And that's kind of what I'm going to try to kind of move everyone along from this makes no sense to wait, I'm starting to get this. So that's the goal for today.
Perfect. Well, I think you got some code prepared for us to kind of introduce us to this. Oh, I have to
Yes,
click
I
the share
do.
button.
I
You
have
already.
I have demos and all kinds of stuff that I stayed up late into the morning hours building for everyone. But enough about me. So just kind of the quick environment here, what we're going to deal with is I'm going to be working down this PS1 file, but I'm just going to be doing run on this. Oh, you know what I should do? I should turn on screencast. You got to have a little thing at the
Oh, so
bottom
you can see the
there.
little typer. You can see what
So
you're
you,
typing, all
so you
that.
can
Yeah.
see like, hi there, right? So you can see everything that happens. So when I'm in VS Code, I use the function keys a lot, and so it's helpful to see when I'm doing things in VS Code. So the environment we're going to be working from is this regex demo PS1, and then I have a temp directory full of all kinds of goodness, but that will be simulating our temp environment. And then I have an HTTPD conf file, which is an example that came from Apache HTTP servers, you can see here. And then I have a phone numbers CSV that, yes, I use ChatGPT and I said, hey, go give me a phony baloney name, first name, last name, and a phone number in CSV, and we'll pay attention to the formats in a little bit. And with that, I think we should get started. All right, so one of the things I did, here's a little pro tip for you, is this script is not meant to be run, because if you just run it, if you F5 this thing, you're going to get some weird stuff, because when you do get child item path on this and you do group object extension, the PowerShell formatter is going to format it in a certain way. Then when it goes to the next one, it's going to maintain that format, and you're going to get what I call the what's the word I'm looking for? The success stream pollution. That's what I'll call it. So in stream one, you're going to get some weird stuff because it's not going to do the objects. So what I'm going to be doing here, what I did, the pro tip, is I put wait debugger at the top. So if I just F5 in this and I run it, first thing it's going to do is hit that. So if I accidentally run this in the console or I run it here, it'll just stop because I don't want it to run like that. I use this tip for all kinds of troubleshooting. I think it's great. But this isn't a talk about wait debugger. This is a talk about, what are we talking about? Oh yeah, regular expressions. Almost forgot what we were talking about there for a second, even though it's all over my screen. All right, so I'm gonna move this away so we have full screen. Actually, that looks a little weird. And what is this rainbow CSV? Go away. We're going to start with this line right here. So just getting started with regular expressions, you may be used to doing things like get child item in temp where object like star.log. Well, just to show you what's happening first, we're just going to get what is in temp. And I did a group by extension. So we can see there's 8 files without extensions, et cetera, et cetera. Now, all that's in my temp directory is the file names. I didn't actually copy any of the content. So if you go look there, they're all empty. I just needed the names for this example. So the next one we're going to run here is where name like log. Now, if you've been using PowerShell, you're kind of used to this. Oh, and by the way, as you see, as I go through this, I'm going to start using positional parameters because when I'm at the console, I type them. When I'm doing scripting and saving, I give the full. But since I'm simulating typing these, that's what I'm doing here. So notice how I dropped the path from one to the other. That little pop-up's kind of getting in my way. I should have turned that off. Oh well, we're just gonna have to slog through it. So here's the ones that ended with .log, and now the very next command is I'm switching to match. Now, pro tip number one is when you're getting started working with regex and you want to learn it, what I recommend people do is swap out like for match, because match is going to do regular expression matching and like does wildcard matching. And just that very simple change, you'll start to see how to use regex, and you'll be like, oh, okay. So we're going to explain this in a little bit, but you can see the subtle differences here, where this is star.log. This is now .star\.log. Okay, but if you look at the output results, the output results are the same. And that's what we're looking for. Okay, so why would you use match versus using regular expressions? You're like, well, I like match and it's easy and it's fast. I'm like, yeah, it is. But look at this. What are we doing here? On this command, we're saying, go to the temp directory where the name matches, and we're going to explain this in a little bit. Let's just run it and see what it does. So I got mat debug this, I got the Windows this, that. And what it's doing is it's saying, I want the 4 digits. I want something that matches 4 digits and then .log. So here's all the files. These all have 5 digits, but they match. It's 4 digits, they match. Okay, that's interesting. So let's take a look at the next one just to see what the subtle differences are. This time I said I want a hyphen, then 4 digits, then log. And look what I got. Try doing that with the like operator. You're going to have to do where name like this, where name like this, where name like this, or where the curly braces, this and this and this, or this and or this. It gets really complicated. And this is why I tell people, learn regex, because it's great. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about what some of those crazy symbols are. So if I do this, we're going to start with anchors, and this is the caret, and the caret anchor says this is the beginning of a line. So now I'm going to say this right here says if it starts with an A, all right, run it. Notice these files all start with A, and I didn't get anything else. Well, if you can have a start of line anchor, then you might as well have a big end of line anchor. Let's run that. Now, the funny thing was, I did this originally with A, and none of my files ended with A. I was like, oh, shoot. Well, that's going to be a terrible demo. It'll show nothing. So I went with E. We'll just grab the next vowel, because we got to keep our vowels in order. So as you can see, this file name is so long, it wraps across, but it ends in that E for the cache, and then cache as well on this one. And those are the anchors. Now I use these all the time. Now, how's that look? All right, well, we'll look at it using an anchor in real life. All right, so here what I'm going to do is I'm switching from get child item in the temp to I'm going to go look into my conf file for Apache. And I'm saying I want it to not match. By the way, I'm going to explain all this in a little bit, so don't get hung up. But I just wanted you to see this is what I'm doing. I'm saying get rid of everything that starts with a hashtag and get rid of all the empty lines. So if we just look over here at the HTTP conf, you see all the hashtags and some empty lines and etc. in the file. So I'm going to run this, and now all I have is the actual executing content from that conf file. Now, of course, it's a little long, so there's a lot of stuff, but I may be looking for, what is actually being run in this conf file. Not everything is as complicated as this example. Okay, well, let's move on to the next thing, which
I have a question, Judd.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Move on. Can we go to line 20 real quick?
Line 20, yes.
Yes, and could you rerun it real quick? Okay, so one thing I noticed about this is your result for this, and this is $E$, E cash and E money sign. So I just wondered, was this an intentional pun? Because you see the cash and then it's like the money sign. Was it supposed to be like a cash money pun, or is this unintentional?
Well, if it is, it's unintentional. And besides which, I think that would be euros, and they don't use the dollar sign, so it's very confusing. So no, this is just a
Oh, you're right.
a regex. So I mean, I could have switched from match over to passing this into grep, but I decided that that's probably not the best for this because we're doing PowerShell. And besides which, I didn't want anyone to tell me, well, just man, get a grep
Right.
and do the content. All right.
But I have a question though about the pattern. So like we're identifying a couple of like small things here. Do you think that typically whenever you're doing regex, are you doing like an $E sign kind of thing, or do you almost always have some kind of longer expression that you're doing?
I will do short ones like this, but generally speaking, I do long ones. What I'll do, let's talk about this not match here. What I'm doing is saying a beginning of a line with nothing in between and an end of a line. So it's basically an empty line. And I'm using not match instead of match. So I said, hey, if this doesn't equal an empty line, so it has text. Now there's other ways to do this, which we're going to cover here in a little bit, but I'm usually doing more complicated ones, and I have more complicated examples below.
Awesome. And I think line 23 is just like such a great thing that you can be able to do with regex. Like the characters you have there is almost none, and you can parse an incredibly large file and get the data that you need with something as simple as that, which is kind of, it takes a little time to wrap your head around it. It's so impactful.
Yeah, let's go off script for a second here, because that's always fun and risky, and I love it. Right. So I'm going to clear so you don't see any of my craziness in there, but it's too late. It's on the video. So, I'm on Ubuntu right here in WSL, but maybe I don't know what version I'm on. So what you do is you do cat for OS release. Hey, look, it's in my history. And you get this. You're like, hey, that's great, but I want to do this across 1,000 servers. And all I really care about is, which one of these? I want version ID. What I really care about is version ID. Once you have regex, you can do this. And remember, I mentioned grep, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do grep on version ID, and now I've got just that. And it returns back that line. So what this is doing is every letter, every character match on that. Now I'm going to cover that in just a little bit, but this is why you would do this kind of thing. You're like, hey, I want to go in and do that. That's very great at finding text. And, so what it's for, regular expressions. Okay, now here is where the fancy stuff gets in, because you can do word characters, and word characters is a \W. And so what this is going to do is this going to say, go into httpd.conf, which is our configuration file, and return to me everything that the very first character is a word character. Okay. And a word character is lowercase a through z, uppercase a through z, 0 through 9, and the strange one, I think, underscore. So if you use the word character, underscore is a word character. Okay, that's the one you have to pay attention to when you're doing something, because if you want just the alpha characters, then you can't do /w because it will include the underscore. I've seen people get tripped up on that. I've tripped up on that. That one will get you. But once you know it, once you memorize it, you're good to go. And interesting enough, for a lot of these patterns, for every word character or for every match, if you capitalize whatever it is, it does the anti-pattern or the opposite. And so if you want to see all the non-word characters, that looks like this. So notice everything at the beginning of these lines is hashtag, less than, white space. That's about all that's in this file. Okay, so Andrew, does that make sense?
I think so. So the caret beginning of the line is where we're looking.
That's
and
right.
Then the
So
/w
remember the anchor.
means a word.
Right.
Yep. So the anchor and then what we're looking for.
Anchor is beginning of the line, and then backslash is, hey, I'm going to do something special next, and the W is what am I doing? So that's the word character.
One thing that really resonated with me whenever I learned about this, that slash, calling it a magic wand. right? Because you're going to do something special after it. It's a little different. If you see it, kind of be aware that what comes after. If you don't know it instantly, you might have to look up because it might be a little weird thing that's not necessarily intuitive.
Yep. Okay. Fun fact number 2 that in this talk is the grave character, which you've probably seen in PowerShell, is the little tick. And the reason that was selected is because it's the closest thing to a backslash without being a backslash that you could get on Windows, because backslash was already taken by the file system. So when the early on PowerShell designers were doing it, they went with the grave symbol for that reason. So it looks like a backslash, but it's a little mini one.
That is interesting. And I thought it was called a grave. Maybe grave, maybe. I don't know. I got it super wrong one time. And it's like the one with the little next to the swirly to the left of the one.
Yeah, that would be the tilde.
Well, where's the grave?
The grave is shift tilde. Is that right? Here, let's see.
For me, that's
I'm going to type it here. So if I just hit that character, oh no, it's not shift. Shift is the tilde. So that's tilde, and that's it. I believe it's pronounced grave, unless you're on a boat, and then it's a grave boat.
And yeah, that's an interesting one. I thought it was a backtick. It's different than a backtick, though. Maybe that's what I use.
No, backtick is the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, just to be clear, this right here, grave symbol, also known as backtick, and it was chosen because it's as close to a backslash without being a backslash. Okay, we're off the rails. Let's come back.
Let's get back. All right, Regex. We were anchoring some stuff. We learned about the word character.
My poor gravy boat joke just didn't land at all. So
the train as well. We're just
have to get serious and get off the grave. Okay. Non-digit characters. And so we got digit characters. Oops, I almost scrolled past it. So we got digit characters and non-digit characters. So lowercase d, uppercase d. Well, let's see what that looks like, just so we can see what's happening. So again, this time I put the anchor at the end. So I'm looking for a digit and then the end of the line. And so here are all the lines. By the way, I started this at the beginning as well, and it didn't return anything because there weren't any lines. Makes a terrible demo. But down here, you can see this is a 0, a 0, 0, UTF-8. Interesting. Here's 8, another 0, and then XHTML1. All right, well, the inverse of that is just the inverse of that. Ta-da! Not very exciting, but these are all the lines that don't end in a digit. So you're going to have to kind of decide. I'm going to step off script a little bit here as well. Is would you do match D or not match D versus capital D? Let's do the D first, because that makes more sense here. So I'll do not match that, and we'll match that. We'll run them both. Okay, very different results. So you have to be careful. It's not as obvious as, oh, well, these are the same, because they're not. I hope that makes sense, because a white space doesn't match a non-digit character as well.
Yeah, so using not match on the negative can make the results of returns broader than what you actually want.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So just stick with match when regex supports the anti-pattern, just using the capital letter kind of thing.
Yes, that is a good advice. Yep. All right, so now let's talk about white space. So /s, I use this one a lot. So I kind of started with the, what do I use a lot? And these are the ones I use a lot. So here we have beginning of line, a space, and then a word. Okay, so let's see what that comes with. All right, so what I got was one entry. Now that, to me, when I did this the first time, I was like, what is happening here? Because this looks like space, 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 space to me. So I ran it into format hex because I was curious, what is this doing? And it turns out, of all the entries in this HTTP conf, for some reason, that's a tab right there. This is the byte ASCII for 9. That would be a tab. And so the tab is one space character and then followed by a word character at the beginning of a line. And that's how I got that one require all denied. Okay.
So a tab is a word.
A tab is a white space. So this right here, this line 42 explains that /s is either a space, I know it's hard to see, but there's a little dot there. So it's either that space or a tab or a, what was R?
Return new line.
New line. This is carriage return, and this is new line.
Yeah.
I actually put that in the doc in this. So when you get this file, by the way, I should have said this earlier. This file is up on GitHub, so it's publicly available. So this is spaces, tabs, line returns, and carriage returns, or new lines and carriage returns. Windows uses /r/n at the ends of its line. Linux uses /n, and now Mac OS X does, but Mac OS prior to X, strangely enough, just used /r. And this is why computer people are crazy. Because this stuff doesn't seem to follow any standard. All right, let's keep rolling. So non-white space characters is the negative. I'll just run it because it does work. So here's all the ones that start with a non-white space character. Okay, oh yeah, here's my little cheat. So this is tab, this is carriage return, and this is new line. Okay. Now we're getting into the quantifiers. Quantifiers I find to be interesting because this is where you get all your wildcards. So a star means 0 or more of. Okay, so in this example, we're back in the Apache config, and I'm looking for, at the beginning, 0 or more spaces, and then a word. Okay, run that, and here's what you get. Now, notice these lines were returned because there's 0 or more spaces at the beginning of the line. So it doesn't have to have a space. Well, let's compare that to the plus wildcard, which is 1 or more. All right, so let's run that one. And now all the results have 1 or more spaces at the beginning of the line. That's the difference between those two wildcards, and that's a very significant difference. And then the next wildcard that I wanted to talk about was the question mark, which is 0 or 1 of these items. Okay, and so then same thing. Well, I had to change a little bit because 0 or 1 space didn't make sense. So I went with beginning line, then basically the open of the tag, and then I escaped a slash because slashes are weird, so I had to escape it. And I said 0 or 1 slashes, and then words. Let's look at what that looks like. So here you can see I have all of the lines with the opening of the element, and then they either have the slash or they don't. Next. Okay, I know I'm starting to get a little complicated, so I'm going to check in with you, Andrew. You following me so far?
I think so. I think that I'm kind of learning there's some peculiarities with some of these characters that are worth knowing about. I think it might be impossible to memorize all of them at once, but what I'm seeing is like you can piece them together. And when you get to escaping, it kind of is getting a little confusing for me. Can you clarify which character is the escape thing?
Okay, so
what an escape is.
Right. So the escape character is the backslash. So when you get to a backslash in Regex, it says whatever comes after this is the special character that I'm escaping. Okay. So in this case, I escaped the slash because the slash means something. A better example would be this curly brace, because as you can see here in the next one, if you're going to search for a curly brace, you need to escape the curly brace because curly brace means something in Regex. So every symbol that means something, if you want the symbol itself, you have to escape it.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Because like, let's say you wanted to search for a question mark. Well, a question mark is a special character. It means 0 or 1 of the preceding symbol. Okay. So in order to look for a question mark, you have to escape the question mark. And so that would look like this. It would be like get content, HTTP conf match. Oops, that's not match. That wasn't even close to match. Match. I want to look for a question mark. By the way, that's not going to work because I didn't put parentheses around that. I need to run this. Okay, let's see what happens if I run it. Okay, there's no question marks. How about, like I said before, let's look for a curly brace. And that should work. We're off script again. Yeah, there we go. So in these lines, I have left curly braces.
And can you show me if you were to look for like the W character? Because I know word and digit, the W and the D are reserved. Same thing.
So W, all right, so if I do a \W, it's looking for a word character. If I just do W, it looks for a W. Okay, does that make sense?
It does. Can I ask
So like
another one
this
that might be hard?
here, I'm looking for any word character. In this, I'm looking for W.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, I'm going to Control Z my way out of what I've done here.
I have one question, if I
Yes.
could, while you're deleting some stuff.
Yep.
Oh, it's not an easy question. So here we go. And I have to try and pronounce some characters I have not pronounced before. So question, is there any way to have language specific execution depending on language installed in your environment? Like for Danish, we have ow, ah, where our alphabet goes from A to another version of A.
That is a great question. And the honest answer is I'm not sure. I know that it's doing text matching. And if you're in Unix and it's doing UTF-16 anyway, then it'll honor those characters in the regex match. So my assumption is, yes, it'll do exactly what you're looking for, but I've never tested it. So please test it and let me know how it worked out.
Yeah, test it and then present it PowerShell Wednesday on making everything work for multiple languages. Boom.
That's right. That's right. All right, so picking up where we go, we were talking about the curly braces, and the reason the curly braces matter in regex is because it's signifying a number of the preceding items. Okay, so in this case, if you put a number, a single number, like I've done 1 here, inside of these braces, this means whatever came before this, I want exactly this many of them. So in this case, I said, beginning of line, exactly 1 space and the word character. Now, I said space. I should have said white space to be very specific, because white space is what /s is. And it got my tab require all denied line. But what if we did 2 or more? Now I've got all these lines that started with at least 2 spaces, and some of them have a lot of spaces because they wrapped these lines. Okay, and then finally, the final of the curly brace is, instead of 2 or more, I want 1, 2, 3 of these. Well, what's that going to give us? Well, it's going to give us back to require all denied, because all these other ones are 4 space indented. Does that make sense?
4 space indented.
Right.
So there's 4 spaces.
4 spaces right here. See, I can highlight 4 spaces, right? And so it does not match between 1 and 3 spaces. So when I did it, I only got this line that says there's 1 tab, which is a white space, and then there's a word.
Okay. Yeah, that's making sense to me.
All right, I have another example of this. So if you don't hold on to that, I'm going to come back to it. Hopefully I can get through all of this slogging, because this feels like a slog. You're like, okay, what about this? What about this? But these are all the little pieces you need to know. And by the way, these are all the pieces that I use a lot in order to just do the basics of, I'm going to build something other than just pure text searching. Okay, and this is where all the flexibility comes. So the next one is pipe, and it means or, but in order for or to work, I should have put this on here, it has to be inside parentheses. So here's our or statement. So in reading this, I'm going to read it. I've got an anchor for the beginning. I have 0 or more white space characters, followed by either a pound sign or a less than, and then a word character. Okay, that's how you read it. That's how you run it. And so now if we look at it, 0 or more spaces, see how some of these have the what's it looking for? The hashtag Octothorpe, if you really want to go nuts, ahead of spaces. So you can't just say, hey, go find me all the lines that have been commented out by looking at the comment character at the beginning of the line. There may be white space in front of it. So what you need to do is say beginning of line, 0 or more white space characters, and then either this or that. So I'm looking for, hey, is it either an element that I'm opening up or is it a comment? It's a little contrived of an example, but it kind of takes us into the next part, which is grouping. And this is what you're doing with this. So we're taking the same content and I'm saying, all right, I want to do this. I'm going to group this together. This is my OR, and I'm going to group this, which is any characters. Okay, I'm going to run that, and that's what we got. Same basic result. Now, I'm going to talk about grouping later, but I did want to mention that those parentheses are special. So again, if you're going to go look for parentheses in your content, you have to escape the parentheses characters with the backslash. All right, try and get through these last few here. A dot is special as well. That's why in the very first example, or third example at the very top, when I was doing star.log, in order to have the dot log, I had to escape the dot, because the dot in regex means any character except new line. So if I run this, what I'm looking for is beginning parenthesis or open element. What do I call this? Less than dot star greater than. Let's just run it. It's easier to see. So it went and found everything that's inside those element tags. Okay. Now what's the difference between that and this? Well, this, instead of saying any characters inside there, this is 1 or more characters. Okay. They look pretty much the same. The difference between these two is that this one, if there's characters or lines that look like this, it'll return it. And this one will not, because there's no characters, this is 1 or more, in between these elements. Okay, that's not an actual line. I was just typing in there so you could see it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So we have like anchor, beginning of the line. We're looking for the less than sign, right? And you're going to see a lot of that in HTML stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the dot is anything except a new line. So it's a whole bunch, kind of like a star, but a little bit more restricted than that. And then just a closing brace after all those characters.
Correct. Yep. The magic is this part right here, which is any character, any number of times, including 0. This one, which I like a lot, is any character, except new line, at least one of them, but as many as you got. Okay. All right, now we're into the escape character, which we've already talked about, so we kind of get the gist. So if I'm going to do get content and I'm matching on parentheses and I'm looking for any characters inside parentheses, I had to escape them out so that it would look like this. If I did this without those characters, well, let's go wild and do it just so you can see it. Strangely enough, it matched every single line. And the reason it matched every single line is because the parentheses created a grouping, and then it said any character, any number of times on any line.
Is it any number of times, or is it 1 or more number of times?
Yeah, it's 1 or more. You're right.
Okay.
It's not a star, so I need to be very specific. Catch that. Good catch.
All good. I'm learning here. So
Yeah,
I'm
heck
like,
yeah.
because those
All right.
subtle differences is really where kind of a lot of this comes in. Like just even
Right.
the past few examples, like it's very powerful.
Okay, so tell me what this is going to do now that you're starting to grok this.
I mean, I think it's just going to find something that matches a backslash because you escaped it.
Exactly. You've got it exactly right. So there we go. Here's all the lines that have a backslash somewhere in them. So like these with the line continuation characters and these with the, escapes inside the log formats. Well, okay, that's interesting. Well, what about this? This will be show me all the ones with just the line continuation, right? Yes. So if you're looking through your code, or let's say you're looking through your bash script, so you've got all your .sh files, and you're like, you know what? I need to go find all the ones that have line continuations in them. Now, why would you do that? I don't know. Maybe there's reasons. That's how you do it. You just get content on your .sh files, and you match this pattern. And you see all the line continuations. Now, where would you use that in PowerShell? Well, you could do the same thing do a get content for all of your .ps1 files, and you want to see whether people are doing proper splatting or are they using the grave in order to make their lines from one to the other, which you should not do. You should use splatting. But hey, some of us, like myself, have really old code where you did the line continuation at the end because you didn't know about splatting at the time. Yes, I have code like that. So you could basically take this line and do the same thing. Again, going off script here. And I'm going to say, go find me all the grave characters at the end of the line. And of course, get content would be PS1 or whatever.
That's a great way to approach like PS1 files. We all have them, and managing a ton of files. That is really what Regex can do with text-based files. And so many files are text-based, whether they're PowerShell or something else. You don't need built-in native commands to do whatever with whatever thing you're working with. It's just text, so you can leverage Regex.
Exactly. All right. So this is the last three, I think. Yeah, last three that I want to get to, because we've got boundaries or character classes and boundaries. So a character class is basically in the square braces, it's anything inside here that matches. Okay. And this is where things get a little fun because this dash means, hey, I'm going to continue on. So what this does is says, show me at the beginning of a line any characters that start with A through G. It's a very contrived example, but here they are. A through G. Here's a G, here's a D, here's an A, here's an E. Where you'll see this a lot more, this is where you'll see like, hey, I want all the word characters. And so the word characters, let me do that right quick because I did not put that in my example. I'm going to put it here now. You'll see like this, A through Z, A through capital Z, 0 through 9. Notice no underscore. So this is all of the actual character sets. You'll see this a lot in Regex. That's what the braces are doing. It's saying any single match inside this range. Well, let's look at the negated one because it kind of covers this a little better. The negated one says it starts with the caret. So where this is an anchor, if you have a square brace followed immediately by a caret, it says do the opposite of this. So now I want no vowels, no pounds, no opens, no white space, and nothing that starts with L. And there is the list. Strangely similar to the list up here, except it added the S lines because now I didn't escape out S. Okay, it's getting a little silly. The example is a little contrived. I did want to show you this last one because you'll see this in examples as well. And this is a word boundary. And what the word boundary special symbol means is it says, I'm going to have something in the middle, in this case, mod, and then I want a word boundary around it. So it's going to look for a character class, and a character class matches the \s. So it's any letter, any number, and underscore. So if I run that, you can see that I just got mod and mod. But what happens if I search for mod here? Notice I got a lot more words like module, because even though there's a space ahead of it, it's saying this matches. The word boundary ones notices this U and goes, oh, that's not a boundary. Okay. I rarely do this, but you'll see it in examples, so I wanted to make sure you see it.
Would it work if you did space mod space?
Assuming there's spaces around it, yes. So here, we'll do it. We'll do it live.
But the underscore counts as a space, right?
No. All right, look at the results from here. Where's mod? It's not around spaces. Word boundary doesn't equal spaces. Word boundary equals character classes.
But why wouldn't the other one, like, does space not refer to actual space in a regex expression, or do you have to do like a character for a space?
Space is like white space. In this particular case, what you're looking for would be something like this. So I'm saying any white space character around mod, but this also won't work because those slashes are not white space characters. They are actual slashes. Now, if you're looking for slash, oops, wrong slash. Get slash Lexia there. Not found it. Because I'm looking specifically for slash mod slash.
Okay. That makes sense.
So word boundaries are weird, but people will use that because it'll find things like exit instead of exiting. So if you're looking through logs and you want to find a word specifically that has space on either side because you're looking for that, or it doesn't even have to be space. It just has to be non-characters on either side. So, you know, it's a part of the whole, not the whole. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. All right. Now, we've gone through all those things. Whew, that's a lot, right? Just buckle up, because there's an important distinction about the match operator. If you pass an array into the match operator, which is what we've been doing with get content, because there's a bunch of lines in this file, it returns all the lines that match, okay? Like all the examples we've done. However, if you pass the match operator just a single item, it returns true or false. So let's run this. As you can see, there is no I in team. This is team sport, right?
It's true.
PowerShell.
Community, at least, yeah.
You knew I had to sneak something silly in there, but there's no I in team. But you know what happens when you make an assume and you want to match me? It's true. Now, the fun part is whenever you have a true like this, PowerShell automatically creates a matches variable. It's an automatic variable. In other words, don't ever use $matches in your code because it's an automatic variable. And if you look at matches, you get a hash table of the first element, 0, and it matched me. And you'll see this, you'll see people doing this $matches in their code. I tend to stay away from it because I prefer something else, because you have to be careful with the $matches variable. Now watch this again. We know that that's false, so what's in matches? The last successful write to the matches variable.
It doesn't nullify itself. You have
to. It does not zero itself out when it doesn't match. It only updates it when it's true. So be careful.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll bite you.
All right. So now, that was the first section. Gotta take a little break, catch our breath, put together what we've learned here into some very practical examples. Now, okay, I'm gonna make this a little bigger so I can kind of see what's going on here. So now we're gonna change up and we're gonna go into our phone numbers. And I'm gonna go faster now. We gotta speed up. Here's what our phone numbers look like. Last name, or first name, last name, phone number. And this is the content example. So I'm gonna say, show me all the ones that match Smith. Okay, well, there it is. Now, of all the ones that it only created one Smith. Come on, ChatGPT, you got to do better than that. Now, I need to point out right here that PowerShell is not case sensitive by default, unless it is. If you follow this link, which again, it'll be in GitHub, James Brundage and I did a session on when PowerShell is case sensitive and when it's not. But just know that by default, PowerShell is not case sensitive, but Linux and Macs are. This is very important for commands like grep sed, awk, and whatever else, especially if you're doing vi, more, less. Okay, now this is where I'm going to tell you Stephen's preference. And Stephen's preference is use select string for your regular expressions. And here's the help. I'm not going to show the help because we got to get moving on this stuff. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking the content and I'm piping it into select string. And this is my pattern. I want to see all the commas and all the eggs. Now you're going to see very quickly why I like select string. It highlights your matches.
Whoa, hold up. Like by default, what's up? Is this PS readline? Like what's going on here? This is crazy.
No, this is select string. Select string does this. They added it to select string at some version that I don't have off the top of my head.
No,
it used to just match, but now it highlights it, which is super cool because now you're like, when you're doing stuff, instead of doing that dash match and like, okay, I'm not sure what's matching, what's not, I'm getting weird results, do select string, boom. All right, well, let's do this. Select string, anything that has A, B, or C. Yep, here's B, here's A, here's C. Notice not case sensitive. Okay, well, let's do this one. A through C. Yeah, same thing, except instead of doing each individual letter, I did a range. Now, just to prove that it's the same, I got silly here. And I said, all right, well, let's run this and then do get content on each command, or excuse me, I did get content on each command and I'm doing compare object just to show that those are exactly the same. And there's all your differences. Still don't believe me? Well, fine. I added list or include equal on this command. I know I'm going fast and it's silly, but see, they are the same. A, B, C, and A-C, same. All right, well, let's look at this one. Okay, where it's not A through W. I want the people at the end of their last names, alphabetically. Whoa, what just happened? What are all these? Okay, I said not any characters A through W, which includes parentheses, nines, ones. So, fun, right? This is why you have to be careful with regex, especially if you're negating, because these are the times at which you're going to get burned. Okay, so let's do it this way. This way I said not A through W and not a digit and not a parentheses. Now that I've cleaned up my data or cleaned up my match to match my data, now I've got Matthew Young. Interesting that I have two Matthew Youngs with different phone numbers.
A 666 number, that's kind of cursed.
Yeah.
I want to get him off the Rolodex.
Yeah, I might want to do that. All right, so let's play with the phone numbers now that we've done that. All right, so we've talked about this. We know that this is a grouping and that I have not escaped it. So what is it going to do? It's going to give me 555s, but not necessarily all the area codes, because 555 is also matching here and it's also matching here. Interesting. Okay, well, select string has this switch called simple match. And when you use select string simple match, it ignores all the regex, whatever, and it just matches strings that are inside the quotes. So this is technically not a regex match. It's just saying, here's the pattern, go find the text, go. Now it's accurate. But this is text matching only. This is another reason why I like select string, because you can use select string with regex or just text matching. It's one tool. It's amazing. I love it. All right,
all the
finally,
strings.
If you escape them out, you get the same result. So 143, 144, exactly the same. Okay, but the goal of this whole crazy exercise was to fix the phone numbers, and my data is a big fat mess because of reasons. Okay, here's my regex. Now I'm taking my regex pattern and I'm putting it into the regex variable. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for a comma, a non-digit, 0 or 1 times. Then I have a capture group which is my group boundary, and I'm looking for 3 digits. And then not a digit, maybe, not a digit, maybe, then 3 digits, then not a digit, maybe, then 4 digits. So that is the explanation of this. Now I'm just going to do match on that pattern, because this is also cool. You can have a really complicated pattern, and then you run match on it, and this is what it looks like. Okay, well, I got all these numbers. That's great. That was using match, but it didn't highlight it. Remember, we do select strings, so we get them highlighted. Okay, cool, cool, cool. By the way, I'm only pulling back the first 10. Now I'm going to do replace. Replace uses regex, just like match does. Okay, and I'm going to replace it with $1, $2, and $3. I'm going to run it, then I'm going to explain it. Look what it did to the phone numbers. It fixed them all. Once you have your pattern working, these capture groups are defined in the results by $1, $next, $next, $next. So when you've got these grouped like this, I can now replace everything with one line and fix all the phone number formats all at one time. Now, how cool is that?
Well, I mean, if you use that one time in your life, you might potentially save like 100 hours, depending on how big the file is, and you just have to run it one time.
If you thought that was cool, I'm going to try to blow your mind right now. We're going to do search and replace using regular expressions in VS Code. So right here on this file, I have comments at the end of lines, where everywhere else I have comments at the beginning of lines. I left this in here out of sequence on purpose to show you this. I'm going to do Control H. Oh, I cheated by already having it in here. But I'm putting it right here. I'm looking for the beginning of a line. I'm looking for a capture group that starts with at least one or more word characters, and then any characters followed by a non-white space character. Then I'm going to find white space, as many as you have, starting with 1. And then I'm going to take the hash character and everything that's after that all the way to the end of the line, the dollar being the end of line anchor. Beginning of line, end of line. Let's see what it matches. Here's the lines that it matches. All right, well, I'm going to go to the first one. So we highlight it. All right, here's our first highlight. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to say $3, and then I did Control Enter to get myself to a new line, and $1. I'm going to get rid of the spaces because that's $2, and I'm going to take whatever's at the end, I'm going to put it ahead of what came before. Here's how it works. Ta-da! It's done. Okay. How bad is that?
I mean, that's incredible. Honestly, what you're showing me is changing the way I think about like PowerShell. It's really a game changer.
Yeah, man.
Oof.
And then I can hit this one, which is replace all. Boom. I just fixed my entire document.
I prefer that interface, honestly, if you have something like this. Like, if I can be a little bit more cautious, if I'm just running something once, I like being a little more hands-on with that. As much as I love automation and stuff, sometimes
for sure.
It's nice to have this.
Now, this is the key right here, this regular expressions button. This is case sensitive. This is whole word matching. This is regular expressions. Now, I did this in a file. Let's roll over here, and you can do regular expression replacement on entire directories, on everything. So like if I put in my match over here, well, it doesn't work now because I already did it. So let me Z, went too far. Let me Z out of this. Ooh, man, what did I do? Got to fix my mod. All right, go back. Where was I? I was right here. Okay, so I put it back. Well, I need this. Copy, paste. There they are. If you have more files, it'll find them all. It'll find them all.
Stephen, Judd, can we just chill on this for a second? Let this sink in, because
yes,
this is the exact same type of software that people have probably paid for 5 to 10 years ago, and it is built into a tool that most of us are already using every single day.
Correct.
That's pretty wild.
Telling you, it's game changing. So you get your patterns, you learn how these capture groups work, you learn how to do the $3s, the $1s, all this stuff. Now, I have links in here for my blog where I explain how to do all this. So if this is like, hey, I need a slower pace, go to my blog, and this is advanced search and replace in VS Code, and you can just follow through the text. And I've got pictures and examples and everything. And then, not to be left out, but Microsoft's documentation has this as well. I like mine because it's more specific and it's something I was doing, but they will show you things like how to convert everything to lowercase or uppercase in VS Code. So if you're like, hey, I need to go fix all this, or I need to do it for an entire directory. Okay, I know we're getting close on time, so I just want to show off just a little bit more and then we'll get out of here. Okay, I wrote this function. This function is fun. Let me get that text out of the way. I'm looking inside of my PS readline option history save path. I'm getting the content of it and I'm passing it into my search text pattern. That's the function. I'm going to run F8 on that so it loads in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my function and I'm going to look for anywhere in the history where I did SLS, any characters, the word matches, any characters, groups, any characters, where, and then pipe that to more. And that's what this looks like. Because I search my history a lot to try to figure out what have I done in the past. But I can't remember the exact command, but I can remember parts of it. So now in my command history search, I can do regex and look for where I did this and this and this. One of the things I did one time, I don't know that I have it in here, I was looking for every time I piped more than 3 times into a command because I was wanting to see how deep down the pipeline did I go. So I went looking. Here's the pipeline, here's the pipeline, here's the pipeline. This command will do that for you because you're using regex. Okay, the final one. The final one that gets just absolutely nuts. This is a gist that I wrote that will parse syslog. Okay, and so hopefully nothing bad shows up when I click this. Let's see if I already have this open because I don't know that I want to show any weird stuff.
Yeah, I'll put up our faces for a little bit.
I just don't know what's going to happen when I click it. Okay, it went to a different window. That's what I thought. All right, let me move this over. You can bring me back now.
Bringing it back. We're here.
Because I got to get there. All right, here we go. This is a gist. It's public. You can get it. I wrote this to parse syslog. This is my regex. And I did it like this with join at the bottom so that I could read it. Start at the new line. This is a date format. This is 1 or more spaces. This is a host. Now, I didn't explain what the question mark date is. This is more advanced.
Can you
I'm not going to explain it now. What's that?
Can you control plus a couple times?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I want it to be big.
Good.
Okay, yeah, got to read it. Okay, but what I did was I said, all right, here's a regex system D pattern. Here's a regex -n pattern. Here's a regex kernel pattern.
I like your way of separating it too with the join, so you can like more easily read what it's doing.
So I'm doing a text array, and then I'm joining them with no spaces. So it mashes them all together in one line. But this makes it easier to read. Plus, if I wanted to, I could do a comment after each one explaining what each line does. This is the beginning of a line. This is 1 or more spaces. This is this. This is that. And so you can explain out your entire text this way, and then join them together, mash them all together into this one variable. And then finally, you go parsing through one at a time. Now, I wrote this for Red Hat. I do not have Red Hat, but I'll be glad to screw this up by showing you what it looks like. I thought I had this in my history. Did I not run this? Here we go. Yeah, this is me doing some whatever. I guess I didn't load this. I thought I did. Let me get the raw. Control A, Control C. I'm saying it because you can't see it. I'm going to paste. Yes, paste anyway. Go. And now I'm going to do get sj syslog. And it is parsing my syslog looking for things. Now, because I did it on Red Hat, there's a lot of not matching stuff. But when it does match, let me get up here to where some of it does match. Woo! Look at all that red. Yikes.
Scary.
All right. Where's the non-red text? Page up, page up, page up. Whew, how many of these are there? Oh, was that one?
Yeah,
Nope.
I think there's one.
Nope, those are all trash. Okay, none of these match. That's weird because in my demo, when I was working on this yesterday, it put the date, put the host, put the process, put the PID, and the message. So as you can see, my parsing error is this should be the date, this should be the host, this should be the process, this should be the process ID. So there's something wrong with my regex that it's not working. And then the message would be everything that's after this colon, which is that. It was so much better when this worked in my demo, but I cleared screen and so it all went off screen. But so obviously I need to tune this for the Debian based syslog versus the Red Hat based syslog, because I do use this at work. So I can go in, run PowerShell in Unix, read the syslog, get back an object from the syslog that I can then do where and group by and all this stuff to find out what is happening in my system. Apologize for that not working, but again, this also is out here and it's also in this file, so you can just link it and get it. Now, here's the finals. Steps to learning regular expressions. 1, learn the syntax. I got you started. Now you go to 2, practice, practice, practice. Stop using like, start using match. That'll make a big difference in your learning this. Use a regex tester. And by the way, I got this list from Copilot Chat. Oh, why not, right? All right, here's my list. This is straight from me. Stop using the like, use match and not match. Use regex101.com. It's great. I'm going to click and go there because I want you to see this. I love it because when you have things that you're trying to explain, like, let me go back here and say, hey, I didn't follow this phone number thing that you did. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in there, and it will now explain it to you over here. Thing to pay attention to is which flavor over here, because if you're using Windows, you need to be on the .NET engine. Okay? So regex 101, it's great. I use it all the time.
Is it fair to just say, maybe be careful of the data that you paste in there to validate against?
Yes, please. Be very careful with the data. Always sanitize data before you put it up publicly. And then
it's just, yeah, even if you're not in a super controlled place, it's so important to have those good habits. But sorry, go ahead.
I'm so very glad you said that because yes, mind your data. Do not create an RGE or a CLM for yourself. CLM, career limiting move. RGE, resume generating event. Yep. You don't want to do that. Okay. Use an LLM of your choice to help build your regex. LLMs are shockingly good at regex because regex is so structured and there's so many examples of it and it's very well documented. So use an LLM and then test. Go back to regex.com, take whatever LLM gives you, put it into regex.com as your search or as your criteria and say, what does this do? I need to understand this. If you want more information on regular expressions, this link will take you to the PowerShell book that I was a part of. Did that not control click? Control click. Oh, opened up in the background. How do you like that? Thank you very much. Modern IT Automation with PowerShell. Michael Zanata wrote the sections in this book on regex, and it is advanced. You want to really get into the engine and learn about performance tuning? This book will help you with that. And shout out to Michael Zanata for his excellent work on that. Let's see, is that everything? Oh yeah, the rest of this is just shameless self-promotion. This is my blog. This is my content. I've now created a YouTube playlist. And I say I had my son do it because he's awesome. Shout out to my son. This is merch. Yeah, it is merch. Like my hat, where you can learn PowerShell. get a PowerShell hat, or I have this symbol on a hat, and I have this shirt, which is my little posh bot looking thing that I kind of enjoy. And then some other links. Here's how you contact me. And up on GitHub, if you put learn Regex? What's my, I think it's learn Regex. What folder am I in?
Your
Yeah, it's
GitHub
right
thing?
here. It's funny.
Yes.
You're like, hey, I'm all professional, right? And then I can't find my little last bit to close this out professionally.
It's real that way.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Go to github.com, Steve and Judd, learn Regex. This content is out there. It's accurate. I'm not going to change it because I want it to play exactly how I played it in this demo. So you can watch this video, use those, have fun, enjoy.
And there you have it. Man, Steve and Judd, that kind of blew my mind. That select string thing. I had no clue that it highlighted the syntax. And to me, that's very PowerShell-y, where you can like have a thing, you're kind of working on it, you're running the thing, at least for smaller regex expressions. I think you made a great point, Regex 101. I've heard it recommended a ton from people. You absolutely want to be using that. And I do like the AI to come up with it, and also the AI to generate the text to validate against. Right. Yes. So you want to then run it in Regex 101. You don't have to worry about maybe sanitizing all your data. You can create dummy data and see that it's matching patterns, modify it, and so on and so forth. But I got to rant a little bit longer because this was just really impactful. You may talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people that are trying to level up in their careers, and that's where PowerShell fits in a lot of the time. I think that it's really important to find ways that you can stand out, and PowerShell is a great way. But I really do think that Regex specifically, you can show confidence in it, get some experience with it, and be able to kind of step forward. I think there's a lot of opportunities at work that it's kind of like with PowerShell. When you know how to use it, you'll see opportunities to use it. When you haven't really used the tool, it's very hard to think like, oh, hey, I could apply Regex here and do a whole bunch very easily.
Yeah, I explained it like this: is like the point of learning these things is to add tools to your toolbox. So if you go to a job and you're going to do it at your house, you're going to do it at someone else's house, and you show up with a multi-tool, you might be able to get that job done, but it's a multi-tool. It's not the individual tools, the specialty ones. Like you're going to work on a car, you want more than your was it the Gerber tools, you know, with the pliers and all this stuff in there, or a Swiss Army knife. Like you want to be kind of like a Swiss Army knife, but it would be even better if you showed up with an entire tool set. And it's even better if it takes up the entire back of your truck that you showed up to do this job. The more tools you have, the more skills you have, the better you're able to get the work done, and the more satisfaction I get from just doing regular work. You mentioned sanitizing information before you put it up. I wrote a regular expression to go replace all the server names in a log file with junk data so that I could then paste it. And I just had one command to do it. And it cleared out all of our internal server names and replaced them with dummy server names. How cool is that? I sanitized my own data using Regex.
Like a wizard. We love it.
Like a wizard. My hat's not very pointy.
Well, appreciate it very much, Steve and Judd. We have links to everything in the show notes. I'm going to get them updated right now. If you're watching this in the future, well, congratulations. All the links are there. Give them a click. Check it out. Check us out. PowerShell Wednesdays every single Wednesday, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're always here. We've been doing it all year long, and we're not stopping anytime soon. I'm actually going to be out of town next week. And you know, I'm going to be doing it from the conference that I'm at. So shout out to anybody's at MMS. Come say hi. Steve and Judd, links to all your stuff is below. Thank you for joining us. Discord.gg/PDQ. Check us out in the PowerShell scripting channel, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for coming, man.